everybody, Bridget Lynn Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. Hey, I'm in the lair today, and yeah, got my sexy on. Anyway, I'm losing weight though, little by little. My metabolism is getting better and better, but you know, when you have things like brain cancer in your pituitary, you could look at an apple and gain 20 pounds. And I think I went from, 114 pounds running, triathlon, climbing, hardcore outdoor person to full-blown, stage 5 cancer, brain cancer in my pituitary. And then I turned into Jabba the Hutt. And it's only been in like the last 5 years that I don't have any glitches from the brain cancer. Both legs are stable. They're picking up onto my brain. My brain picks them up. I can feel my toes. I don't have neuropathy in my hands or my feet anymore. I don't have a lot of, not paranoia, but hallucinatory stuff, like, obsessive compulsive disorder, illusionary type stuff. I don't have, panic attacks anymore. I don't have anxiety. I don't have speech problems or speech impairments or stutters. So, it's been a long time. Let's see, it happened when I was 31, I started noticing it. Something was really off. And by 32, I started having my first blackouts. And then came to find out I had a classic, brain tumor. And I don't do Western medicine, so I, sought out the help of a lot of other people. And during the last, 18 years, I've worked with some unbelievably brilliant people in clinic and colleague, all kinds of different stuff, and people on my show and whatever else. So I'm 100% rehabilitated, and now I'm working on trying to get everything flat so I can start running again full time. I like to run. But I can't be in pain, and I can't be dizzy, and I can't be a lot of these other things, running, which a lot of that has ceased. So now I've just got to get myself lean enough, and really looking forward to get back into climbing. So, but anyway, this video is about power, and power that is generated through a biological or organic consciousness, which can be deployed or applicated to pyramids or rock structures, to humans, to plants, to water. And water, in some cases, if you look behind the veil to studies and actions that water has taken towards people, it has killed people. It has, damaged things because it is a, it is a being. And when it decides to generate power, or it's had enough, there are also stories like, for example, that it healed. So several things can happen. All these, different systems can either be used for, extreme healing or extreme death. Each side of the 2D seesaw, and the power that has to be generated in between. So, like I said, it can happen from rocks. Depends on, I've talked a lot about rocks in the past. Especially rocks that have ancient like DNA strand symbols on them, cymatics, symbols. Some people in the ancient, we know that they were using their thumbs and fingers, creating smooth holes into rock caves and small rocks, and were building a relationship with them as technology to change weather, good or bad. And so these things can be used as weapons. Like I tell people, NASA is not a space agency, it's a human weapon agency. I know, I have personal experience. I've been with other people who have personal experience. And we'll leave it at that. So even with sound can be used to kill, maim, damage, downgrade DNA, mind control, or it can be used for extreme sides of spontaneous healing and generating power, mostly generating power into the organic or biological thing that you're trying to give enough power to get well. So, there's this really interesting thing I watched this morning from the Florida Marquee. Really appreciate that guy's work. And he showed all these pyramids down below, like, in the Bahamas area. Which I did a video some time ago, I think called When They Find Atlantis, based on my experience of memories before I came here, and when they would find it and what would be in there. And because past, present, and future are happening simultaneously, then I believe that the pyramids would have these crystal technologies in them at the bottom, and I believe that they were in the Bahama, Bermuda Triangle area, because I have a memory of the television documentary long before I came here. So they downloaded a lot of things that, I didn't realize, like, people didn't know about. And it took me several years on the planet to actually realize, like, a lot of people don't know about any of this stuff. But in this time frame, me being here, it would come to pass. So anyway. Anyway, he was talking about how there's pyramids under the water and how this hurricane's sitting over this one area where these pyramids are. And he brought up a really good analysis, Maybe it's not generating power into the pyramids, but maybe the pyramids are taking that power in, and then it'll be, utilized for something we don't know. But I'm going to just talk about plants and, like, plant medicine, depending on, you have to realize they're conductors. I mean, hell. Okay, let's just talk about, hold on, let me get some. Let's just talk about, like, horsetail. Let me have a look here. Let's see. Where is my horsetail welly? All right. Okay. So this is the pine tree type horsetail. There are 3 types of horsetail. Pine tree has a lot of medicine in it, but if I had to, in biodynamics, we use horsetail. What we do is we cook it down, ferment it for 5 days, and we'd spray it on anything that had mold or fungus or whatever else on it. You can also use it, you can do the same thing. You can ferment it. People don't realize, like, plants can adapt anywhere as long as there's, the minerals that they're required to grow, and warm and moist, soily. Our bodies are like soily. Our blood is crystalline. And I was just getting a message from a friend of mine, Richard Allen Miller. He's messaging me from Facebook. And I did an interview on my radio show with Paul, who's a mutual friend of ours. It was a really great interview. Paul is very knowledgeable, amazing being. When he was a young teenager, he's like, I don't know, mid-70s now. He studied with Wallace Black Elk, which was the son of Black Elk, which is very, you know, he'll be real humble about it, but pretty big deal to start your life off with that kind of teaching and a teacher and ancient knowledge. So anyway, so back to horsetail. So eczema and psoriasis are mold. It is a plant function. The plant, could have been internal, and then it moves out to the outside, or somehow it, attached itself on and then grew a structure. Anytime your immune system is off just a little bit, almost everything you get, cancer, all these things are microbial. And if they go into the plant stage, they'll sprout roots. And candida, being a fungus, if it goes terribly wrong, which it is these days in most people, because our bodies are so acidy and just ripe, but it'll grow a root system. It'll actually grow a root system in your colon, root balls, and masses that will eventually start to puncture through your colon, grows up and puncture in your organs and grows up like a vine, because what it wants to do, it wants to get to the brain, just like any kind of parasitic thing, and wants to take over the host, because now it wants to grow into something else. And, there have been things that happen where people breathed in a pea, and the pea didn't sprout a plant, but what it did, it sprouted a root system right into the person's lungs and had to be removed. So this is not like far-fetched, people. So this plant, horsetail, they say, we don't know for sure, but is one of the oldest plants, at least in my area in North America. And it's 300 million years old. This is what they say. And it's a very interesting plant. And so we're talking about plants for, biological, organic power generators and applications, and where they decide to grow and why they grow there, and what kind of power do they need to generate in order to grow there, and what helps that symbiotic relationship as a power source. So horsetail likes two things a lot, and it also increases the capacity to generate those things. And one is silica, which could be is a computer, physical computer generator, because it can, generate information. Silica is a quartz crystal. What do they use in military weapons and computers? Crystals. The other thing that horsetail likes is silicon. Both of these nutrients are super important nutrients for the human biological suit to actually generate enough power. And they actually call silica in the body the longevity mineral that, and we don't really get it a lot from our diets anymore. Silica has the ability to make your teeth awesome, your hair awesome, fix a lot of cellular problems. Also, literally give it to people and it will heal any kind of hairline fractures. I was reading that that in one of the countries they were giving it to people for actually osteoporosis. It can heal cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. If you need a shoulder replacement, maybe you don't need a shoulder replacement, but you need a diet replacement. Get some, power generating minerals back into your computer system so your hard drive can run properly. So horsetail can provide us some serious minerals, right? So let's talk about horsetail as a power generator. Horsetail loves to grow where there's water because, crystals are very conductive of water, right? Water loves crystals. Water loves to run over quartz and all these other things. And, when rivers are healthy, they oxygenate themselves running over these crystal beds, rocks, and then they also break down the substance and pick up minerals along the way. This is why we're sick, because we don't have any healthy waterways where we can go put our jug in, that we have pure oxygenated water, and it is fully mineralized. If you drink out of the river, you're probably going to have the poo-poos for like a long time. Or vomiting, or pick up some kind of who knows. And there's a lot of sewage that's dumped in pretty much every waterway. So, horsetail does something really interesting to me. This is why it's like in my medicine bag. And this is why it means a huge amount to me. So you can see my little horsetail. So this is when I harvest it. And today I'm going to be pressing the plants. I'm not going to show you that, but it's ready to go. And all of its magnificence and glory. And yeah. And so I'm going to press it, and then the rest of the minerals and everything are going to come out. And then I'm going to put the rest of it together into tincture, because I have some orders. And this, one thing I want to tell people is that when they're growing medicinal herbs, so you go online, is it better to eat, that goes back to something I always say with people in nutrition. Is it better to eat a chemicalized apple with pesticide spray or Big Mac? No brainer. The produce, right, is going to be a way better choice if you have to choose. And same way with herbal plants. Do I choose to buy something, off the internet or in my Whole Foods or whatever else that comes from a big company who makes these, or not have it at all? You definitely want to buy the herb from the store. But everything has a local understanding. People generally know that they should eat honey from their local area because it does help with enzymes. It helps with allergies. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial if you eat it raw. If you're going to put it in really hot water or anything hot over 90 degrees, yes, it's a great sugar, a great alternative sugar. Is it better to use than, white toxic sugar? Of course it is. Of course it is. I was looking, number 9. You see the number 9 up there? Yeah. So that's putting the pieces of the puzzle together, the big picture. So I'm giving you a big picture. Closure. Yeah. Anyway, so better to use honey than refined sugar, of course. But if you're going to eat honey, it's better to put honey in a smoothie or eat it directly, or wait for your tea to cool down to at least 90 degrees and then apply your honey. Or just not make, boil and steep your tea, let it steep for, 30 minutes. And then pour it into another cup to cool it down, and then put your honey in, because you're going to get way more value from your honey. But that's, local honey. So it's also not buying from monoculture or another state. So all the plants and animals and beings, that live around where you live are all dealing with the same problems. Environmental contamination, drought, flooding, a lot of these kinds of conditions, chemtrails, radiation. And so the plants and everything start to try to adapt. They try to figure it out from their environment, and they have the water that rains on them, and they have water that runs by, and they have animals that come through and poop on them, and they have, you know, other animals that are running back and forth, and they have pollen that are being brought from, you know, that over the hill right there, you know, not very far away. Bees can fly up to 2 miles for water. So they'll be dropping different kinds of pollens. Birds flying over, eating seeds from different places. They're dropping seeds. Those seeds are going into the ground. Even if they don't grow anything, they're being eaten and absorbed by the microbes in the ground, and they're pulling that information in to what's going on out there. And then what happens is they start to evolve themselves. Why something like horsetail can be 300 million years old? Because it's figured it out along the way. It figured out how to deal with the frickin' flood, one that supposedly covered the whole earth. It figured out how to keep living after a comet hit the planet. Not only keep living, but it thrives. And wherever it plants itself, wherever it likes, wherever it comes up, it thrives. And it is hard to get rid of. But it's trying to help us, give us the things that we need. And I believe this from all plants, rocks, everything. Everything has data and information in it. It's just us, we don't. And that is why we're dying. That is why right now in the United States, life expectancy is 65 years of age. If you're a COE or somebody who's head of a company, it's 60. Because we don't have enough information and data. We don't think that we need the environment, and we don't think that we need to generate power from the environment or learn how to generate power or put the minerals and things into our system that are conductive of energy and power, especially outside of ourselves, to get it into ourselves. And I've talked about this in shamanism. You know, basically your energy field loses all the power in it over your life. Post-traumatic stress disorders puncture holes in it. And eventually it's like just a piece of saran wrap and it suffocates you. And people, that's why you got panic attacks, because there is something really, really wrong. And you're being suffocated to death. So I don't look at that you die. I look at it as that your energy field can't generate power anymore and be the generator for this vessel, and this vessel has to die. It needs to be powered by something. Okay, what does horsetail do? Has 2 powerful minerals that generate and are highly conductive of energy. So if you don't have the energy conductors in the system, you can't be a conduit of energy, and obviously you can't generate and store power. Ding, 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 ding. See where this is going? You know, healthcare is so, even alternative medicine is so far off the mark. It shocks me. It shocks me. Okay. Horsetail. I can just feel my little horsetail and they're giving me loves. Okay, because I loved it when, you know, I watched it until I collected it, and I'd go visit it and I'd touch it. And I have a video on here about the horsetail journey and how it unfolded, and it actually started talking to me. And I realized everything talks to me. It's just, do I have the conductive generating tools to pick up their signals? And am I generating enough power to make the conductivity work? That's why most people are asleep at the wheel, because they don't have it in their body. And so how is this great awakening going to happen if people aren't eating things that are conductive of power or energy? You're an energy device. Yeah, let's talk about that. Even they're trying to get to where they can copyright your blood when they go to digital banking, and you give them 2 drops of blood to have your bank account. And they're going to tell you, so this is how they know exactly who you are in order to in case it's questionable whose bank account that is. But what that is, you're going to give them that, and they're going to copyright your DNA, and they're going to be able to buy and sell you your genetics, and more than likely it's to off-world, because a lot of us, like myself, have had some physical, actually knockdown drakouts with the grays, and just let them know, like, I got free will, baby, and you can't put me to sleep anymore, and you can't just carry me away. So done being experimented on. So they're going to have to approach it in a different way to get willing participants, right? And I just don't. I just don't. Okay, so horsetail. Horsetail has a strict relationship with water. And why it grows with water is because it doesn't do photosynthesis in the way that all the modern plants of the last, 5,000 years do, right? People always ask me, like, how do I know that they keep killing the planet and the things on it and then genetically creating something new? Is because the horsetail is really like the only plant that's like it is. And it comes from a dinosaur age. And the rest of the plants do photosynthesis in a totally different way. So sometimes, if you genetically alter things, there's going to be stuff left. For example, people that get heart transplants, people that get organ transplants. I've talked to quite a few of them in my practice over 30 years who will get, say, a heart, and it'll be a heart of somebody who ate poorly, maybe had some kind of death, accidental death young, and they ate a lot of greasy food. It was part of their culture, right? A lot of greasy, fried foods, heavy starches, kind of a thing. Then the person gets that heart, and then the person who's still living on through that heart overrides the system of the person it's in, and that person starts adopting that diet. And the reason they needed a heart transplant in the first place is because they had totally messed themselves up in a way where their heart was bad. So that heart is not going to last that long. See, there's biological material that's carried over. So even like everything that we're doing, there's always kind of like a little bit of the biological organic material that's carried over. So horsetail, I look at that. So reason why horsetail needs water is because it uses it as a component to generate power, which is sunlight. In almost every culture, that I've worked with or been with or learned from, especially with the native cultures, there is always this theme of generating power from the sun. Doing some kind of work with the sun in the morning, and then sometimes at the closing of the day at night. Because the sun is one of the largest power generators in our reality. And they know that they actually have to, and this goes way beyond D3, right? Or D3. That's the synthetic vitamin D, but it goes way past, vitamin D. And we are like horsetail, right? So how do you absorb vitamin D? Let's see, you're out in the sun, your body starts sweating when you're out in the sunlight, and then you go inside and your body reabsorbs that sweat back into your system, right? And that's how you get vitamin D. Well, there are a lot of people nowadays that can't absorb vitamin D. Why would that be? Maybe because you have no silica, which is the fountain of youth mineral, and you can't conduct energy. You're non-conductive anymore, which means that you can't use the minerals in your body because you don't have them to actually be conductive to respond and create nutrient and power and energy. So, horsetail, this is what horsetail does. Horsetail, in the morning time, when it feels like it should, pulls silica predominantly with water up through itself and beads tiny water droplets out on its structure. A silica is like millions and millions and millions of mirrors, solar panel, and the conductor that it's using to push it out and to suck it back in is the water, right? So, when it's done, when it's got enough of its power, it's generated enough power, the photosynthesis, it sucks it all back in. And that is how it does something similar to photosynthesis. And you can look up, tree leaves and how they work with photosynthesis. But that's how horsetail does it. So horsetail, we could say, is a lot like humans, right? Because it gets hot outside. We start to have beads of sweat. And then we come back in and our body reabsorbs that sweat. But if we don't have the minerals, because we're not ingesting them, because we're not plugged in to the planet, we can't just be like, suck the minerals up because we're rooted into the planet, right? We have to actually ingest this stuff. We have to get it into our body. And it has to be biological nutrient. There's a lot of nutrient out there that's non-biological. That's why it makes people sick. That's why it gives you diarrhea. You're taking any kind of large amounts of nutrient like vitamin C, magnesium, things like that, and you get diarrhea, there's a problem because it's non-biological. That's why it's a problem. It's man-made. It's not made naturally. That's why you should eat plants. And you should grow your own food. And you should, bioremedial your own soil so it's nutrient rich and has value. Because those plants are going to do the job that you can't. And then they're going to be grateful enough to give themselves to you so that you can eat them and you can get those minerals and stuff in your body that you are not going to get anywhere else. And if anybody tells you they're high, and I'm really sick of these doctors who now can't sell, opiates and pharmaceutical medicine and have decided that now they're becoming nutritional experts. Are you effing kidding me? You know nothing. Absolutely, positively zero about nutrient, where the nutrient is, and how to get it. I'm sorry, horsetail. Horsetail tells me to tell the truth. It's the first thing that it made me agree upon before it unveiled itself to me, this huge meadow of it. And I looked for 3 months for it. And anyway, I go back to the story. And it wanted me to be clean, and it wanted me to be honest, and it wanted me to tell the truth and not be afraid. So if we're silica depleted, when our body sweats and beads up, it doesn't have a photosynthesis like horsetail to our environment. So it's just basically trying to eliminate chemicals. Do you hear it pop? Yeah, I love my plants. This year they have taught me, they have helped me put the pieces together that I was missing. And they are like power generators, and you know, unbelievable conductors, and they know where the minerals are, and they know where the medicines are. And you got to make sure and eat them and collect them and use them from where you're located, because you're dealing with specific things. So are they. They're trying to adapt and evolve, and as they're changing their DNA and their forms, you taking that and from your local area. Plus, I'm not saying buy my plant medicines, but all my medicines are made because I go out and look for them and I collect them, and I don't F up the ecology. I don't take things that aren't there. There's not enough, there's not enough. So there's a lot of things that come in to play with me, you know, and my plant medicines. So, you know, you may need some silica in order to actually, you know, if you can't take in the photosynthesis, right? Direct photosynthesis of the sun, which is the largest power generator through sweat, and then be able to reabsorb it so that it can give information or energy so that your body can sort out how to detox, how to get power to different areas, your cells, number one. And if you don't have any silica or some other stuff in your body, which pretty much everybody's depleted, you smoked, you drink, you eat refined foods, you don't ingest anything natural, you don't grow your own food, you are 100% depleted of just about everything. It's just the medical community says, well, if you fit between this scale, you're okay. Where, you know, you need to fit between this scale, right? No blood tests out there for that. So you're kind of on your own. You kind of got to learn what you need to learn. Okay, power generating 101. And what are conductors? Minerals. And why isn't your body thriving? Why aren't you healthy? You know, why aren't you conducting energy and power? You know, why aren't you doing a lot of these kinds of things? The whole environment are conduits, you know, but you're not. Why? Why? Why are you depressed? Why are you emotional? Why are you sick? Why do you have headaches? Why do you feel the way that you feel? You know, all goes back to generating power. And I'm teaching you simple, easy things. Not the big, huge shamanism stuff that I had to use in order to generate enough power to get over the brain cancer hurdle. And I used a lot of this stuff, this nutritional stuff. And then I had to really use some of these power generating techniques in shamanism in order to actually finally be able to fully walk, be able to have enough energy in my body that these systems could heal, and that my hard drive was upgraded so that actually could do the facilitating of picking up the areas of my body and regenerating them. So, you know, for 50, surviving cancer twice, actually thriving. My dog, I've healed my cancer in my dog 4 times. Naturally and completely alternatively. And, you know, I plan on living as healthy as possible for the long haul. And I'm getting to prepare to actually be lived. Schallenberger's work. I just love that. Ralph said that on the show a couple months ago. You know, that in Schallenberger's work, birds aren't flying, they're flown. So they're designed to be flown by the element of air. And they also can be on water because of their design and their feathers. And fish they don't swim, they're swammed by the water. They're designed to be in the water, and the water propel them, right, and move them. And then they just have the intention of where they want to go, and the water and air move them along, right, because of that kind of clarity and because of their design. So what are we designed for? We're designed to be lived. What does that mean? That means used in a good way. by all the forces and the powers and everything that is around us. And that's where I'm at. I want to be lived. And I'm not really sure what that looks like, and I'm trying to figure out my design. And you know what? I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet, because I just feel like I'm just finally starting to like grasp some of it. Just finally there on the edge to cutting through, right? Cutting through all the bullshit. I've always been ahead of the curve my whole life. And they call me crazy. I don't care. Because their life is crazy. I don't want to live that life. I don't want to be near that kind of life, because I'm not making a living. I'm not doing that anymore. I want to be lived. I want to be fully lived. You know, I always like that old statement that they made, you know, driving it like a rental car with chocolate in one hand and a bottle of wine in the other, and coming into a full 360, boom, parked, and then you're at the end, right? And that's how I want to live. There's no need to be cautionary. You just got to have the right conductors, and you got to be generating power. And I think all of us individually could be acupuncture needles on the planet, and that our relationship with nature and getting it to generate more of itself, it's like berries. You pick berries off the plant to eat it, it makes more. The more this being eaten, the more it will produce. And we're not even eating those berries. So why should nature produce? Right? And they're producing, you know, all those great minerals right out of the ground so that you can ingest it. All those conductors. And all this monoculture food, even if it's organic, is not the same. Plants need to grow and live with each other. They all apply something to the soil, and they all take things away. And they all have to be in balance. So monoculture and all that other stuff is not good. You're not going to get the type of minerals that you're required and you need. And most food, like lettuce, loses all of its nutrient value within 3 days after it's picked, even organic. So you've got to rethink this. You've got to rethink it. You got to rethink everything that's out there. Rethink it all. All right, anyway, I get to press my horsetail today. It's ready. And I have some beautiful clients that it's just going to be downloading some beautiful information into. And I'm just sending it out in a good way. And yeah, I love my medicines. I make sure that my medicines are as far away from Wi-Fi as possible, even towers. I make sure that there's no electricity where they're at. No bad electricity. I have them in a place where, you know, that I can work with them without other people being around, so that their information is not inputted. Now think, even if you go to a homeopathic or a naturopathic, and how many medicines they have up on a counter in a room. And think about all the Wi-Fi, the electricity, you know, sounds, vibrations, and each person that walks in that door that imprints that medicine. I mean, by the time you buy it in 5 months from that doctor, yeah, it may help, but it could make you sick. Because it has a lot of things in it that shouldn't be in it. And I'm not saying my medicines are perfect, but I'm trying, right? I'm working with them in a natural setting in their world. And I'm trying to benefit them and the people that take it in the best possible way. And as I learn more information, I incorporate it. And the big thing that I do is I love them. I mean, when I went back to biodynamics school after interning on farms and permaculture and all this other stuff, and I went there, and I'm not saying, you know, like biodynamic or a lot of the modern groups of Steiner work are perfect. A lot of it I find culty. But biodynamics saved my life. Those microbes in that medicine saved my life and taught me things that nothing else could have ever taught me. and plants, working with plant medicines. Been working with plant medicines for a long time, but this was the year that everything came together. That all of the pieces that I've been working on came together. All right. Hey, thanks, Florida Marquis. Love your work. Get as weird as you want. I know that you keep things to yourself, but get as weird as you want, because I think that we have to tell the truth, and no matter how weird this world is. Also, if anybody wants to help me, I always need help. I always need donations. I don't really have a roof over my head. I do have floors I can stay on, but for the most part, you know, I have to do research. I have to do work. I have to do all this stuff on my own. The state, you know, governments don't like me. They came after me. I have 3 videos, Holistic Battlefield 1, 2, and 3. You can look at those about what happened to me and them trying to arrest me and threaten me. I mean, nowadays they just murder you and throw you out. I mean, there's like 160 holistic, alternative medicine people, researchers, blah, 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 that have been murdered and thrown across the street or in a field in the last 5 years. So at least I made it before that, when they were still arresting you and trying to, you know, bring the IRS on you and do all these things to you and have the police sit in front of your house, you know, all that kind of stuff. But you can catch up with what happened back then. But it didn't deter me. And I have no idea. Maybe someday I'll be able to write some books. Maybe some people will help me on stuff I know. But the best thing that I can do is try to... So much stuff I don't talk about because it really is like really out there. But I try to help people to understand, you know, in the best possible way that I can, so it makes sense. So that you can change your health, right? You can change the health of yourself right now. And there's no time to delay. Okay, everybody, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Project. I love you all. Horsetail loves you. It's ready. Bye.